Hello everyone, welcome to the channel, and in this episode we'll be creating a sign-in form using just HTML and CSS, and the form is completely mobile responsive. If I show you, this is what the form will look for the small screen, and when we go beyond 992 pixel, this is what the form looks like. And here we are only creating a UI, we are not linking it to any backend, but if you know PHP or something like that, you can always do it on your own. So without wasting time, let's start coding. Okay, so here I have my project folder open, which basically has three files. The first is an images folder that has three SVG images that we're going to use. You can find this in the description below. I'm going to leave the link to my GitHub repo and you can find the images there. And then we have a HTML file with some basic default boilerplate. I'm linking my CSS here, and then I have a CDN for the font awesome icon. You can always find it on your browser. And then in the CSS, I am just removing some default styling, and then we're importing the Roboto font. So now let's start coding our form. And the first thing I'm going to do is create a div with a class of container. And inside this container, we will have two more divs, basically a div and a form. The info div will have all the text part, and then we'll have a form. So how we're going to create this is like, first we will create the form. Let me just increase the font size. Okay, so first we will create the form for the small screen, that is for the mobile, and then we are going to implement media query and create the info part of our form. So let's first start coding for the form. I will use the form tag and give it a class of form, and I'm going to remove action because we are not implementing any backend. Then inside the form tag, I will create a div with a class of form header, and it will have h2 with a text of signing. Then after this header, we are going to have a few more components. First, we will have some login buttons, and let's create them. I will create a div with a class of login buttons, and then inside this we will have three anchor tags with a class of login, and I'm just going to leave the href part empty. And inside the anchor tag, I'm going to use span and put my SVG image here. So the first one will be for the Facebook, and the text will be login with Facebook. If I save it, this is what we have right now. And just like this, we are going to have three more anchor tags. So let me just copy and paste. Three. The second one will be for the Apple. And the third one will be for Google. Okay, let me just capitalize. So if I save, this is what we have right now. So let's start styling our form. So the first thing I will do is select my body tag and give it a background. And the background will have a color of F1, F5, F8, a light shade of gray and white, and then the minimum height for my whole Body tag will be 100 VH. Then we will use display grid and place items center. And it is going to make sure that all of our item is in the center, both vertically and horizontally. And then I will give it a padding of 2 rem left and right. And then I will select my form tag, give my form a background of white color. Text align will be center because we want everything to be in the center. Then I will give it a padding of 1 rem top bottom and 2 rem left and right. And if I save, you can see the difference between both the backgrounds. One is white and one is a light shade of white and gray. Then I will target my form header, which has my H2, basically the sign in. And then give it a margin bottom of 2 rem. And now the main part, styling our login buttons. So I will select the login class and give it a display block. The background will have again a different shade of gray, which is F4, F5 and F6. And if I save, this is what we have. Then let me just decrease the size of the image first. So our image will have a width of 1.2 rem. We are going to make them very small, just like this. Now we can continue styling our login part. So the text decoration will be none. We do not want it to be underlined. Margin between each of them will be 0.5 rem top bottom and 0 left and right. And then we will give it a padding of 0.6 rem top bottom and 1 rem left and right. You can see it's starting to look a bit nice, and I'm not sure why we have 4 of these rows. Let me just check in the HTML. Okay, so we are not closing our anchor tag here. Let me just do it. Okay, if I save now, yeah, everything looks perfect. So let's continue styling. After padding, I will make the font size a bit smaller. If I was confused, it is smaller or bigger. Then I will give them a transition, all 0.2 seconds and linear. And then since we're going to use these transitions again and again, let me just create a CSS variable for them. So I will go at the top and create a bunch of CSS variable. First will be for transition, and we are doing it so we do not have to write this all 0.2 seconds part over and over again. We can just use the transition keyword. And we are also going to create a bunch of these CSS variables for our colors. So we will have a blue color with a color code of 2C7D and FA. You can change the colors if you want. And then we will have 2 shades of gray. First will be a bit dark, The second one will be a bit lighter, so I will name it gray light, and the color code will be BDBCBC. Yeah. So I created these variables, so I do not have to repeat the value again and again. We can just use the variables. So here, instead of writing these manually, I can now just use my variables. Now for the color, okay, I messed up. For the color, I will use the gray color variable that we just created, and then display will be grid, and we will divide them into two columns. First will be auto, that is for the SVG image, and then we want the text to be spanning all across, and then we will center them using place item center. So this is what our button right now looks like. Now I'm going to change the color of the background of these login buttons when I hover over them. So the background will change to E7, E8, E9 if I save and show you. So right now we have a light gray color, and if I hover over them, the color changes to a dark gray. So this is all we have for the login button. Now let's create the next part of the form, and that will, in the next part will be a divider. So let's create a div with a class of divider, and inside this we are going to have two HRs, and a paragraph tag with a text of or, and if I save, this is what we have. And now let's style it first before moving forward. So I will select my divided class, divider, give it a display of flex. I will align them center, so the vertical align should be center, and the HRs have now vanished, but we're going to fix it. Justify content will be space between, so you can see our paragraph part is nicely in the center now, and the color will be light gray. We will again use the CSS variable. Now I will select the HR, not H4, HR, give them a width of 47% and height of 0 pixel, and give them a margin top of 0.2 rem so that they are in the center. Yeah. Now let's create the third segment of our form. And the third segment will be the input boxes. So let me put a comment here. And then I will wrap them in the article tag. So the first will be a input box for the text, and it will have a placeholder. Please enter your email. And I will give it a class of form item. If I save, we have our input, and then we'll have another input box which will be a type of password. So input password. I will remove the name and ID attribute because we do not need it. The placeholder will be password, and the class again will be form item. So we have our two input boxes, and let's style them first before moving forward. So I will select my form item, give them a width of 100%, a margin of 0.7 rem, top bottom, and 0 left and right. Then we need a padding of 0.75 rem again, and we will remove the outline. Border will be of 1 pixel, solid, and the color will be again our light gray CSS variable. So you can see they are starting to look a bit nice, and then give them a border radius of 0.25 rem. Then one more thing that I'll do is select my form item and use the focus pseudo element, and then change the border color on the focus, and I will change it to blue color. So what will happen now is if I go into the input field, the border color will be changed. So let me show you. When I click here, you can see the color changes to blue, and the same for the password. And then one more thing that I like to do is select the form item and target their placeholder, and give the placeholder a color of light gray once again. So we have our input field ready here. Now let's move to the next part. So up next we will have 3 more components here, and since I was running out of class names, I will just call them row 1 and row 2. So we will have a row 1, we will have a row 2, and in between these two rows we will have a submit button. So let's create the HTML file, HTML part for the row 1. I will use a article tag and give it a class of, as you guessed it, row 1. Then I will use a div and put input type checkbox inside it. We'll again remove the ID and name, we do not need it. And after the checkbox, I will put a text of remember me. And since we want this checkbox and this remember me part to be aligned right next to each other, that's why we are putting both of these inside this div. And we're going to use display flex for accomplishing that. Then after the div, I will use an anchor tag and give it a class of link. I'm going to leave href empty again. And inside this link, I will put the text, forgot your password. And if I save, this is what we have. And let me just create all the HTML part right now because we only have a few lines left. So up next, we'll have a button, and the class for this will be submit btn. type will be submit, and the text inside will be sign in. Yeah. And the final component of our form will be another article with a class of row2, and inside this we'll have a paragraph with a text of haven't got an account question mark, and then just like this we will have an anchor tag with a class of link, and both of these anchor tags will have same styling. That's why we're using the link class. And here I will put sign up. If I save, this is what we have, and we are going to style it now. So first I will select my row 1, which is basically these two components. So let me select the class row 1, give them a display of flex, save, and we have something like this. Then justify content will be space between, align item center just to make them in the center vertically. Then we will give them a margin top bottom 0.7 rem, left right 0. Font size will again be 0.9 rem. Yeah. Then I will select the link class, which is basically this forgot your password and the sign up text. I will give them a color of blue. We have a variable again for blue color. I'll give them a transition again using the CSS variable, and we do not want them to be underlined, so give them a text decoration of not underlined, none. So you can see our form is looking better than before, and when I hover over my links, I would want them to be underlined. If I show you, yeah, it works fine. Now I will select my submit button, this sign in button right here, give it a width of 100%. Now let's give it a margin and padding, both 0.5, 0.75 rem top bottom, and 0 left right. Padding will be same. We will remove the border. Let's remove the outline too. Cursor will be pointer. If I save, this is what we have, and it is almost invisible. So let's change the background color, give it a background of blue color, and now change the text color to white. Looks nice. And the border radius will be 0.25 rem, and we'll give it a transition since we're going to change the background color when we hover over it. Now let's also give it a letter spacing of 2 pixels. Yeah, now it looks nice. So when we hover over the submit button, we want the opacity to go 0.85. So it will basically make the background look a bit lighter. You can see. Let's make it 0.9 instead. Yeah. So now the only thing left to do is style this row 2, if I'm right, yeah, class of row 2. So let's select row 2, and again display will be flex. And since we want everything to be in the center, justify content will be center, not space between. If I save, we have something like this. Font size will be 0.9 rem once again. And then we will give them a gap of 1 rem. If I save, we have this. Now for some reason the background of the form is only visible till here. So let me just check what I've done wrong. So I guess I have made a mistake in the HTML file. Yeah. So what I did was this row 1 submit ptn and row 2. I created them, but I created them outside of the form tag. So I will just copy and cut them here and paste them inside this form tag. And if I save, yeah, they look nicer. So as for the form, we are done with the form. And if I show you in the full screen, our form is ready. Now we just need to create the left info part of the form and our project will be complete. So let's start. So here before the form, I have a comment of info. Here I will create a div with a class of info. And inside this, first we are going to have an h2 with a text of join us for the adventure. And which reminded me, if you are wondering where I got the inspiration for this form, let me just show you. So there's a website called Photor, I guess, yeah, Photor. Let me go full screen. Yeah, this website, photo.com. And if I open it, so this is their website, and if you click on sign in, this form opens. So this is where I got the inspiration for the UI of the form, and you can check this website out if you want. Now let's get back to our project. So yeah, the first we will have first line will be an h2 with the text of join us for the adventure. Then we will have a paragraph. Inside this we will have a font of some icon of cloud, and after the icon we will have a lorem text of 10 words. If I save, this is what we have, and we are going to have 4 more such paragraphs. So I will copy and paste them 3 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4. The fifth paragraph will have more than 10 words. Let's give it 15 words instead, just to make it look a bit different. So this is what we have right now. And then after the last paragraph tag, I will use an h4 and write the text. You will love every single thing about. So just to make them look a bit different from each other, I will use h4. Now let's start styling this part. So I will go to the CSS part, the CSS file, and first thing I will do is select my info container and give it a display of none, because we do not want it to be visible for the small screen. And now we will use media query. And when we cross 992 pixel, that's when we want it to be visible. So we will put 992 pixel here. Now the first thing to do is make the info container visible. So I will give it a display property of block and save. And let's go full screen. You can see it is visible right now. And if I inspect, just watch here, when we move to less than 992 pixel, it will disappear, as you see. So the media query works fine. Now we just need to style it. So let's start doing it. Let me just make my browser window a bit bigger. Okay, it is still not visible. Let's make it a bit smaller right now. We will change it to 992, but just for the styling part, I'm making it a bit smaller. Yeah. So now I will select the container, which basically has both of the info part and the form part. And for the container, I will give it a background, and the background will be linear gradient. The direction will be towards bottom right. The two color we're going to use is a dark shade of blue, which is 0064E8, and a light shade of blue, which is 63C9F5. And if I save, okay, nothing changes. Yeah, a misspelled container once again. And if I save again, okay, I did it again. Something is seriously wrong with me. Container, I guess this is right. Yeah. For some reason, I can never spell container right in the first effort. Now, after the background, let's make them display flex. Okay, the small screen is a bit disturbing. After display flex, we want them to be in the center vertically. So I will use align item center. Looks a bit nicer. Then the max width for the whole container will be 992 pixel. Then if I go full screen here, yeah, it looks a bit nice. Then I want everything to be in the center, so margin 0, top bottom, and auto left right. And then the next thing will be box shadow. And it will be 0 pixel, 5 pixel, 15 pixel, and the color will be light shade of black, 0, 0, 0, and the opacity will be 0.5. And you can see it is nicely visible. Now let's start styling this inner part of the info. So I will select the info tag. Color will be white, and padding will be 2 rem. It's starting to look nicer. Then I will select the H2 inside this info, give it a margin bottom of 3 rem. Then I will select the paragraph inside this info, give it a margin bottom again for 1 REM, and the max width for the paragraph will be 30 REM. Then I will select the icons inside this info, which are basically these icons, and right now all of them are same, but I'll change them after styling. So these icons will have a margin right of 0.5 REM just to provide some space right here, and if I save, yeah, it's nicely visible. Now the last thing to do is style this h4. So target info class, select h4, and then give it a margin top of, okay, I cannot see anything here, margin top of 2 REM, and the font weight will be normal. So yeah, that's all the styling we need. Now let me make it 992 pixel once again, and this blue container will disappear when I save. Here we go. And now let's quickly just change these icons one by one. So we have cloud for the first one, second one will be check, third one will be image, fourth one will be a plane, and fifth one will be a light bulb. So if I save and go full screen here, and I didn't tell you this before, but the shortcut for going full screen is F11. So here our form is ready, I guess. Let's inspect, and we are right now on 991 pixel, and if I go any further, here the left container is visible too. So I guess that's it for this project. We used a lot of CSS and a lot of HTML too to create this, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more such videos. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.